Beautiful. The green line is there, sister. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we go with this. I don't have a PowerPoint ready. We go with this here. Write that down. If you make your notes, I'm going to try to make my time. Who? It says who in verses 1 to 6 of chapter 38. So I don't give the chapter anymore. You should be on Ezekiel 38. I give only the verses right now. Come with me. And the word of Jehovah came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face toward Gog of the land of Magog. Circle Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog are not proper names. These are titles. There is no fellow called Magog or Magog. They are titles exactly like Kaiser, Tsar, and so on. So Gog is the one that will be ruling in Russia at that time, and Magog is the land of Russia. The prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal, circle them three, and prophesy against him and say, Thus says the Lord God, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal. I will turn you about and put hooks into your jaws, and I will bring you out, and all your army, horses and horsemen, all of them splendidly attired, a great company with bucklers and shield, all of them wielding swords. Verse 5, circle them all. Persia, Ethiopia, put with them all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer, with all its troops, Beth Togarmath, from the remote parts of the north, with all its troops, many peoples with you. I stop right there. Okay, you have the board that will help us out. Concerning your verse 2 and 3, your Meshach, Rosh, here, when it says Rosh, it's Russia, Meshach and Tubal, here. All of these Russia, but the last two, basically Meshach and Tubal, these were tribes of Russian people of the past. And they gave the city Moscow, bearing their name. Different tribe from Tobolsky, and exactly where my wife is, the Ural Mountains in Siberia. So these are tribes of Russia that basically gave the name Moscow. So Rosh is Russia, Meshach and Tubal are different tribes that gave the name of the capital of Russia. Then when you go in verses 5 and 6 that I just read for you, I'm going to move away. That's why at the beginning of the class today I asked you to circle that. When it says in verse 5 and 6, Persia, it's Iran. Ethiopia is Cush. Put, Somalia. Gomer, Germany. And Beth, which is the house of Togarma, is Armenia. So these are basically people that will join in the invasion of the north.
Please repeat those.
Okay, Persian is modern-day Iran. Ethiopia is Cush. Put, P-U-T, Somalia. Gomer, it's Germany. And Beth, you can erase the Beth, Targomath, Armenia. So they will join together with the Russia to invade Israel. So, tick mark, we're done. Who? We have it behind our belt. Can give you more details, tedious, and outside of our scope. Come with me, 7, 8, 9. Be prepared and prepare yourself. You and all your companies, you know the companies now, that are assembled about you, and be a guard for them. After many days you will be summoned. In the latter years you will come into the land that is restored from the sword, whose inhabitants have been gathered from many nations, have been gathered from many nations. to the mountains of Israel, which had been a continual waste, but its people were brought out from the nations, and they are living securely, all of them. 7, 8, and 9 is your where. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to Israel while they are at ease. And you look at the logical events of your outline right now. That's why we need Israel as a state, to have that attack against them. So the where is Israel. They are the object of the invasion. So all theologians, they agree that this is Israel. And the situation of Israel right now, they are at ease type of thing. Okay, all the text basically corresponds more to the Israel today than Israel past in the time of Solomon and so on. They have been gathered, the regathering and so forth. Where is done? The invasion of the north, which is the invasion of Gog and Magog, but now you know that Gog and Magog, Gog is the prime minister of Russia of that time, and Magog is the land of Russia. These are titles, not proper names. Now we look at why will they invade Israel. Come with me, it's longer, 10 to 16. Finish your notes and then read with me. 10 to 16. Thus says Adonai Jehovah, it will come about on that day that thoughts will come into your mind and you will devise an evil plan. Again, Krista, the free will, no. You will entice the people to go. And you will say, I will go up against the land of unwalled villages, and I will go against those who are at rest, that live securely. Where is the trust of Israel at large right now? Do they trust on Jehovah as I speak right now?
No.
Who has the best intelligence on the planet? Israel. Intelligence against military type of thing. For long, the cockpit has been locked from inside way before the Twin Tower. So they trust in the intelligence, the research, the cameras, and all the system of security. They are at rest, verse 11, that live securely, all of them living without walls or having no bars or gate. When you go to Israel, there is no more walls, bars, or gate. To capture spoil and to seize plunder, to turn your hand against the waste places which are now inhabited, and against the people who are gathered from nations, second regathering, who have acquired cattle, goods, who live at the center of the world. And indeed, on the globe, the center of the world is Israel. Sheva, Dedan, and the merchants of Tarshish with all its villages will say to you, have you come to capture spoil? Have you assembled your company to seize plunder? To carry away silver and gold, and to take away cattle and goods to capture great spoil? As a result, therefore, prophesy, Son of Man, say to Gog, thus says Adonai Jehovah, on that day when my people Israel are living securely, you will you not know it? You will come from your place, out of the remotest part of the north, Russia, you and many peoples with you, that we just went through, all of them riding on horses, great army and a mighty army. And you will come upon against my people Israel like a cloud to cover the land. It shall come about in the last days that I will bring you against my land, so that the nations may know me when I'm sanctified, circle sanctified, through you before their eyes, O Gog. Why? We have the why right here. To seize spoils. These are suggestions only. Cattles, goods, silver, gold, and most importantly for now, the minerals of the Dead Sea, which are of great value, and of course, the oil in the surrounding countries of Israel. They come to get this. The text is completely silent as exactly, but we have the thing that are suggested here. And in 16b, we have a why from God's perspective, Krista, that when he allows something to happen, he will get the glory. In verse 16, I will be sanctified. Everybody will be defeated later on, but he will get the glory. It's a major point of the why. So now, the why, without all the details, are behind us. More details in Ezekiel. What? Now we'll get into the what or how, if you want to. What or how they go kind of together. 17 to 23. Am I going too fast? Yes. Good. Thank you. A bit? Yeah, I need to watch myself because in the last half hour I have a tendency to do that all the time. Yes.
What was the why besides to seize the goods?
To seize the good, the spoils, if you want to. God's sanctification, verse 16. Read your verse 16, it's going to be right there. Your verse 16 says this, dear you. My hands, so that the nations may know me when I am sanctified through you before their eyes. So God will be set apart in all his action. He has different ways to make himself known, and it's not always grace and love. He's going to cause that invasion, and they're going to all die basically in it. Okay? Now we go to what and how. The what and how, I forgot to make an arrow together. They kind of go together. What and how. We read this. Come with me. From verses 17 to the rest of the chapter, 23. No, not the rest of the chapter, but close to. Then join them for yourself, one another, into one stick. I'm completely in the wrong verse right now. Thank you so much. So 38, 17, which is the rest of the chapter indeed.
Happened in the Great Tribulation or before?
We need to reach the win. He jumped the gun, bro. You need to reach the win. Thus says Adonai Jehovah, are you the one of whom I spoke in former days through my servant the prophets of Israel, who prophesied in those days for many years that I would bring you against them? It will come about on that day when God comes against the land of Israel, declares the Lord God, that my fury will mount up in my anger. In my zeal and in my blazing wrath, I declare that on that day there will surely be a great earthquake in the land of Israel. Fish of the sea, the birds of the heavens, the beasts of the field, all the creeping things that creep on the earth, and all the men who are on the face of the earth will shake at my presence. The mountains also will be thrown down, and steep pathways will collapse, and every wall will fall to the ground. I will call for a sword against him of all my mountains, declares Jehovah. Every man his sword will be against his brother. With pestilence and with blood I will enter into judgment with him, and I will rain on him and on its troop, and on the many peoples who are with him, a torrential rain with hailstorm, fire, and brimstone. I will magnify myself, sanctify myself, and make myself known in the sight of many nations, and they will know that I am Jehovah. What and how? Okay, it's the full cup of the anger of the Lord against Russia, and keep in mind the key sin, anti-Semitism.
Anger of the Lord against Israel or Russia?
Against both if you want to, but it's against Russia primarily. Why? Because they touched the apple of his eye, his wife. A man here that is married in the room, protector of the wife, you don't touch the wife. That's the apple of your eye, and so on. So they, Russia, Debbie, touched the apple of his eye. So basically, it's Russia primarily, and way primarily. Okay? And they will be destroyed without help. Who will be destroyed without help? Russia. And do you know what? The land also will be destroyed, which is the biggest country in the world. Okay? Their land will be destroyed. before I get to the when, take your notes, take time to note everything that you need to have. Do you remember this, what's on the TV when I taught the first session? The rule of the law of recurrence. One block of scriptures dealing with an event. So verse 38, chapter 38 of Ezekiel deals with the invasion in the north. Then a second block of scriptures dealing with the same event at the same period of time, but giving more details to what transpires in the course of the event. This is your chapter 39. So you have one example there of the law of recurrence. We have studied chapter 38. It deals with events. Now it's going to step into chapter 39, the law of recurrence, speaking about the same thing with a little bit more events and so on. Okay? Make a note. Yes.
On the board you have verse 13.
The verse 13 is of chapter 39. Good stuff. Good, excellent question. Here you have verse 13, Sheva, Dedan, and Tarshish. I'll explain what they are in a moment of time. So let's move on here. Okay, chapter 39. I'm just going to give you the outlines here. Chapter 39, verses 1 to 6. Fulfilled by the Six-Day War, 1967. But I need to allude to that. I need to read because there is stuff that is too important in it. Come with me.
I'm mixed up.
Good. Perfect.
We were
Good.
at what and how?
It's past tense.
Yeah. Now, where are we?
We are
At
in
the
the
when?
chapter 39, which will give you more details, but I did not place them in these questions so far. So we just studied chapter 39 to get a little bit more details. Okay? The when, I'm not there yet.
Okay.
The when, I'm not there yet because I need to explain what I'm explaining right now. Okay? So this is gone. Good, because I need to take my time. I knew that it was going to take time, but it's not a study of Ezekiel. I just want, when somebody will talk to you in the future right now, let me pause, take my breath. I didn't have breakfast, but I can drink water here. About the famous invasion of the north. You are informed right now. And there is nothing worse for me when I do these classes, and he's listening to me right now also, that when I taught Revelation in the past, I don't know how many times. I'm not going to boast in it, maybe 5 or 6 times, New Life and different places, Revelation, at the Church of Debbie, crash course behind the pulpit, which can basically not allude, was very disruptive with the little boy type of thing. I come across this, and in all the classes that I did, with one exception, this Saturday morning, I never gave that much detail on Ezekiel. By fear that the people would be bored. Because it's tedious. Rush to battle. What's going on here? Now, in this one, seeing your keenness that you travel from abroad I mean on the Vancouver Island, you come to these classes. Talking to myself, sitting down there, said, no, I don't avoid these things. And my battle, when I do that, it's to stop the details. Not as if it would be a study of Ezekiel, but things pertaining to the end time. Okay? So who? Russia. Where? Israel. Why? Spoil. And what and how they will do it, and so on. It's enough for the context of Israel. Because you know that Vladimir Putin is a very good prime minister there in Russia. He's loved in Russia type of thing. But Russia always have had a flavor of anti-Semitism. Do you know what is anti-Semitism? It's a special animosity against the Jews, a hatred against the Jews. And when I pray sometime, you see I'm a tangent right now, but I'm going to carry on. When you come here on Thursday nights sometimes and I get behind the lectern, I don't have a knowledge of construction. I have a knowledge of this, given from above by grace alone. So I pray for Trudeau, Trump, and so on. And I pray for abroad. Okay, we lift up the wife of Jehovah, done by Krista here. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And then I come to Canada, the province sometimes, and the city. Canada is not on the right track with Justin Trudeau right now. I don't mind about the budget. I don't care about these things. The first thing that I look into a government of any kind, it's whether they are pro-Semitic or anti-Semitic. Okay? So the choice of this man lately has been concerning pro-Semitism below average. And we're not a country that will retain the blessings all the time if it carries on this way. When you turn the face to Trump, do you think that I praise Trump? But I know one thing, as a hard worker, despite all the junk that he might have said, who had the courage to go at the Western Wall to meet with them and identifying Jerusalem as the capital and so on? So, whether you agree with Trump for budget or comments about the black people, yes, it's important, but not for a theologian. At least on this side of the coin, he has a pro-Semitic flavor. Same for France and all these countries, and the world, as it develops, will turn slowly to be anti-Semitic. And the church has turned anti-Semitic with the doctrines of replacement theology, no millennial, and we are the new Jews. It's even worse than Trump and Trudeau combined together 10 times. Because we are the church. So that's why I decided, François, enough of crash course, open the book with them, read the text. And the most important part here in our class, it's when I put my glasses on and I read the text. That's the most, what's the word, Louis? The most authoritative part of your study. At least today you have read Ezekiel 38 and 39. Some of you, without looking at anybody, never read Ezekiel. Never read Ezekiel. At least here you've read it. And know they are, so that's my goal. And because I'm committed, because I see the situation in the world, Rob, the COVID, that we cannot even travel, decided, okay, if we take 2 years to do Revelation, I'm committed. For my sake and your sake, or for your sake, first of all, should have said, and my sake, because I review all these things. And as I review all these things, oh, I wish I would do Ezekiel with them. We were barely scratched the surface of Isaiah. Who cares? Let's move on. Enough speaking. So that's the way I want to serve you in this capacity. To do something serious. Crumbs, go to church, you'll find them there. Sorry. But it's time. We need a better diet right now. 39 verses 1 to 6. And you, son of man, prophesy against God and say, Thus says the Lord Jehovah, Behold, I'm against you, O God, prince of Rosh, Meshesh, and Tubal. This is dealt, Rosh, Meshesh, and Tubal here. I will turn you around and drive you on, take you up from the remotest part of the north, and bring you against the mountain of Israel. Nothing more clear than that. North Russia, mountains of Israel, Israel. I will strike your bow from your left hand and dash down your arrow from your right hand. You will fall on the mountains of Israel, you and all your troops and the peoples who are with you. I will give you as food to every kind of predatory bird and beast of the field. You will fall on the open field, for it is I who have spoken, declares the Lord. You circle now, and I will send fire upon Magog and on those who inhabit the coastland in safety, the remotest part of the north, so the land of Russia will be destroyed, and they will know that I am the Lord. Verse 6. Okay? So the mountains of Israel, and that's the 6-day war, basically, where they occupy the whole land, not only the west part of it. It's been fulfilled in that place. Okay? The sanctification of God's name, 7 to 8. My holy name I will make known in the midst of my people, Israel, and I will not let my holy name be profaned anymore. And the nations will know that I am Jehovah, the Holy One of Israel. Behold, it is coming, and it shall be done, declares the Lord God. That is the day of which I have spoken. Verse 9. Then those who inhabit the cities of Israel will go out and make fires with the weapons and burn them, both shields and bucklers, bows and arrows, war clubs and spears. For 7 years, you circle 10 times, 7 years, they will make fire of them. Okay? They will, I read the full until I'm done right now. They will not take wood from the field or gather firewood from the forest, for they will make fires with the weapons, and they will take the spoil of those who despoil them and seize the plunder of those who plunder them. That's the spoil from the Russian people. They will take everything from them. On that day, I will give Gog a burial ground there in Israel, the valley of those who pass by east of the sea, and will block off those who would pass by. So they will bury Gog there with all his horde, and they will call it the valley of Ammon Gog. Verse 12 is very important. For 7 months, the house of Israel will be burying them in order to cleanse the land. Even all the people of the land will bury them, and it will be to their renown on the day that I glorify myself, declares the Lord. I read until the end of 16, and I'm done with this. They will set apart men who will constantly pass through the land, burying those who were passing through, even those left on the surface of the ground, in order to cleanse it. At the end of the 7 months, they will make a search. And as those who pass through the land pass through, and anyone sees a man's bone, then he will be set up a marker by it until the buriers have buried it in the valley of Ammon Gog. And even the name of the city will be Ammonah, so they will cleanse the land. Ammonah means multitude. Okay? So here, what we have the most important is the 7 years they will make fires, and 7 months they will cleanse the land. So that's basically the more details, the law of recurrence, the 7 years of burning the weapon here, and the 7 months to bury the dead, because some will fall in crevices of the rock and they will be hard to find the dead. So the 7 months and the 7 years are key here to our chapters, basically. And that's why now I come to the when. I wanted to explain that passage to come to the when. Finish your notes. I just wanted to read it. I'm done with 39. I don't need to finish it here, the verse, the 39. That's all I want in the context of the Revelation.
What does Hamana mean?
Multitude. Okay? All right. Be with me on this map. Take a deep breath. We have 13 minutes, and I'm okay to explain what I want to explain with Derek who asked and Sylvie who asked when these things will take place here. The 7 years of burning weapons and the 7 months here, the 7 months is burying and the 7 years is burning. That's right here. My personal view on it, it's before the Great Tribulation. Make a note of this. I will show you why in a moment. My personal view, it's a pang that will come before the Great Tribulation. Okay? There is a view that holds to the mid-tribulation. You have your tribulation right here. Okay? 7 years. Do you see that, everybody, on the 2 screens and on your map? Okay? The 7 years of the Great Tribulation, some people say that Magog, the invasion of the north, will come at that time. But it's inconsistent specifically because of the 7 years of burning. The 7 years of burning equipment here, which will lead to burn into the 1,000-year kingdom, which is inconsistent here. Okay? Because the Messianic kingdom will be a cleansed land already. So it's not the very good view to go with the 7 years burying here, because they will still have to bury into the 1,000-year kingdom. There is a bunch of theologians that holds to the after the Great Tribulation in the campaign of Armageddon, that they say that the invasion of the north that we have studied will occur at the end of the Great Tribulation. For you guys right here, at the end of the Great Tribulation. They call it the post-trib view Armageddon. Post-trib view Armageddon. But in Armageddon, basically, many Jews will be killed here. And once again, it violates the rule of having 7 years to go through to burn equipment in the Messianic kingdom, and that this is not sustainable with the 1,000-year kingdom and so on. So the best view to embrace, it's a pre-tribulational view, and it goes well, the pre-tribulational view here, it goes well because of the state of Israel being an unwalled city, and the state of Israel having their confidence in their armies, intelligence, and system instead of God. That's the best view here. And this is your first birth pang. Okay? Because remember here, for those who hold the view of the midpoint, are you with me? Am I losing you? Those who hold the view of the midpoint, which basically would be the midpoint of the Great Tribulation, right there. Events of the Great Tribulation. Remember that at the midpoint of the Great Tribulation, that's the Abomination of Desolation. And Jesus asked the Jew, when you see this, flee the city. So I cannot put it there because they are asked to leave the city, let alone 7 years of burial. 7 months of burial and 7 years of burning. Because they are asked. When you see the Antichrist taking his seat in God, that Thessalonians, get out of there. In the Olivet Discourse, don't go back to get your cloak and so on. Get out, meaning flee to Bozrah and Petra and so on. We have studied this. So the midpoint is not valid for me, nor the post-trib at the end of the trib when the Lord come back. 7 years of burning is inconsistent. So the best view that I endorse, you don't need to agree with me, is the pre-tribulational view. So that's why capital D is future. Don't ask me how long before the trib it will happen. I do not know.
Which birth pang did you say this might be?
Fourth. This is the birth. The pangs, they go with your letters, dear Germaine.
Okay.
Yeah, they go with your letters, basically. Okay? This is pang number 4. This has to occur. Francois' view, after having studied the view of others also, is a pre-trib view, meaning before the Great Tribulation. So that's why it's fun to watch the news, what's going on in Russia, and so on and so forth, but situation might change in a moment of time, very quickly. Okay? So, any questions on this topic? Because at that point, I need to move on to the one world government, which is the 5th birth pang. Germaine, your letter 5, E. So this will be your 5th birth pang, but I don't want to enter into that today because I knew that the lesson today would be tedious. Okay? Not tedious necessarily, but new for many, many people. So that's what we have seen. If you don't have any questions? Yes.
So this war that we've just been describing will not affect the rest of the world? Will it be
Center there.
contained?
Would be
within the
contained
Middle
there, correct. Contained there, yes. Something that you will watch on the news, that you will say, did you see what happened in Israel with Putin? Just to give you an example, which would be the Gog. But I don't think, because he has some respect right now. But like I say, with the surrounding nations of all these guys that I had on the board right now, I know I have German people here, or husband and so on. This is not quite recognized to be a pro-Semitic nation in the past and neither today. Okay? So once again, I don't want to get into the tangent of praying for your country, and when you decide you're undecided for a vote or at the federal system, don't be shy to call their office and say, where does this one stands on foreign affairs? And you mentioned specifically with the nation of Israel. And if they start really, you have your answer to this. And you didn't have the same answer with Stephen Harper. Okay, I'm not in elective mode here. I'm in a history mode and very much in anti-Semitism as over against pro-Semitism. What have we done? We have studied the sequences of pre-tribulational events, WW1, which you were very close when you were a young child, and Carol also. I'm not going to ask you the year of your birth, but this is...
I was right in it.
You were right in it, and you guys were right in it. WR1 and 2 basically was the first birth pang that led to be the reestablishment of a state to be able to build a temple, Stephanie, and to be able for the people of the Jews to sign the treaty of peace with the Antichrist. And then Jerusalem under Jewish control of some kind. They can take the control of the plateau. Doesn't need to be a big temple, can be very small. But the Jews will not accept the temple outside Mount Moriah. This is clear for them. It's Moriah, the mountain, the plateau where the golden, the Dome of the Rock is located, the Muslim Dome of the Rock type of thing. So it's ready to go with the equipment that you have, the bulldozer and the excavator. 3 months and a temple can be functional and with bricks of Holy of Holies, with limestone and so on. And then we get into the future event. Now the invasion of the north is behind you. I'm not going to re-allude to that. This is your Gog and Magog of Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39. This is an event that should be happening before the Great Tribulation, violating the Messianic kingdom and the eternal order. Next week, the one world government, the 10 kingdom, the rise of the Antichrist, the periods of false security, and the 7-year covenant. Then after that, we will talk about number 3, other pre-trib events. Only 3, the blackout, the return of Elijah, the third temple. And then we get into the eschatology of the church, the judgment seat of Christ. And then we will get into the first half of the Great Tribulation, Revelation chapter 4, and we will have our nose. We did not even open Revelation today except for chapter 17 at the beginning of the session. So full-fledged eschatology in our classes. Invite more people. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your support. Derek, ologist.
Will you cover how the Jews, how they make the temple? Because that's big to put it, okay, the Dome of the Rock is gone and we're just putting it there.
I don't know. I won't. I will if I do a study of the four temple of Jewish history. But when we keep in mind temple, just think about 3 rooms, okay? The Holy of Holies, the holy place, and the altar of incense. That's all they need. Okay? That's a rectangular Holy of Holies, the holy place, and anything outside of it where the altar of incense is located in front of the holy place and the courtyard type of thing of the temple. Very simple to have something ready there to move on.
I heard all the rocks are all cut and ready to go.
Oh, it's very easy for them. They build walls like this of limestone beside the highway. It's phenomenal. It's beautiful to see. All not shiny, but all level limestone. So for them to build it in a few months, it's very, very palatable. Derek, would you close? Would you do that, brother?
Thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you for Francois' teaching. And thank you that we can worship you in Canada without any violence and without any repercussions as of yet. And I pray for those who are traveling, safe travel, and that we may gather again next week or whatever class we're taking during the week. And I ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. The next class will be Isaiah. So you need to paper for Isaiah.
Yes.
You will graduate with all this. Thank you so much, Esther.